Good day to you all. Always a pleasure. Coming to you at the start of a new year. We have had several feast days coming upon us back to back. Christmas, of course, New Year's Day, the feast of the Motherhood of Mary, followed by the Feast of the Epiphany, and now this weekend, the Feast of the Baptism of Jesus. The feast this weekend allows us to reflect a bit on this very important sacrament, the baptism of Jesus. It allows us to reflect on our own personal baptism. It is indeed the basis, baptism that is, of our Christian life and the gateway to the other sacraments. This is where it all begins. Baptism is supposed to connect us to all the other sacraments. It connects everything in our spiritual lives. And there was a time when you got all three sacraments of initiation, baptism, first communion, and confirmation on the same day. And that makes a lot of sense. Through baptism, you were incorporated into the life of the church. And first communion and confirmation allowed one to participate in the mission of the church. So all three were connected. Baptism was like your ticket or registration to enter the race, and first communion and confirmation allowed you to run a good race. The downside today of baptizing infants is that the registration and the start of the race were kind of distant from each other. You got your registration number, but the race has not yet started. So unfortunately, it allows people to come up with all kinds of reasons to justify baptism. For some people, baptism is a kind of a certificate thing. Baptism gives you a certificate to show that you are Catholic or to enter a good Catholic school. For others, baptism is like a holy insurance policy. In case your baby died, you didn't want the child to go to a place called limbo, which made God look rather cruel and vindictive. You wanted to assure that your child got into heaven. And for some, perhaps the vast majority, it is a cultural thing. It's kind of what you do. My grandmother baptized her child. My mother baptized her child, so I'm going to do it as well. It's like Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas. You must have turkey and cranberry sauce. Now, this is unfortunate because baptism is a wonderful sacrament. It gives your life purpose and meaning. The feast of the baptism of the Lord comes right after the octave of Christmas. Just weeks ago, the church commemorated the birth of Jesus as a baby. And now in his baptism, the church commemorates the beginning of new life for Jesus in his public ministry. This is where it all began for Jesus. We are about to hear, for instance, of the wedding feast of Cana, which reveals Christ's transformation of the world. The plain wine became the best tasting. The ordinary became extraordinary. The mundane became very exciting. And it all started with baptism. And when you look at it, the architecture of the church symbolizes this very beautifully. In many churches now, the baptismal font has been given greater prominence, either closer to the altar in full view of the assembly, or right at the church's entrance. In some churches in Rome, for instance, the baptistry is a separate building so that the newly baptized would proceed in their baptismal garments from the baptistry to the church, where the doors would be open to receive them. And there, all the baptized from previous years would await them to join the assembly, the royal people of God, singing and receiving Holy Communion, because now they were in full communion with the church. It gives one a new identity and purpose. Your life now became like that new wine, transformed by Jesus from the ordinary and purposeless into something beautiful and meaningful. We are reborn and transformed, and that is truly something, as I said, that is wonderful to celebrate. That pouring of water on a child looks pretty ordinary and ritualistic, but there is something marvelous taking place on the spiritual level. It's all exciting stuff. And I am sorry to tell you this, but when you bring your child to be baptized in the church, the one that you leave with is not the same child. When you were distracted, with your cell phone getting the light setting right to take a picture, we switched babies on you. Baptism gives us a whole new identity. As the writer of 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9 puts it so beautifully, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people set apart, God's own possession, so you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Now I ask you this, what could be more exciting than that? The challenge now is to live it, to live like a new creation, to live like a holy nation, to live like a people set apart. And boy, I will tell you this, does the world need baptized Catholics who live out their vows in a serious way. A world that is bereft of ideas, with no clear, consistent and enduring message, where policies based on well-considered principles are in short supply. So I invite us this weekend to renew our baptismal promises, to sprinkle ourselves with holy water, and to be the voice of truth in a world of deceit and lies. God bless you all this weekend as we celebrate the feast of the baptism of Jesus.